How's it going, everyone? It is Dark Ops here, bringing you another Black Ops 6 Zombies video. Today we're ranking every single perk in Black Ops 6 Zombies as of Season 3. So by the time this video is going up, we're going from Juggernog to the newly released Double Tap. So we're going to be ranking every single perk. Now, as a disclaimer, I will be including augments, but they don't make a huge difference for me personally, so ranking all the perks with their augments, it's not going to be a huge difference, and ultimately the placings here are still going to be the same as though I wasn't doing augments. So I'm just going to mention them occasionally, but most of them don't make a huge difference for me. There are very few perks where the augments actually do matter, so you'll hear about them as we get further up the list. But let's just get started at the very bottom. What you guys are looking forward to, the worst perk in Black Ops 6 Zombies. Hands down, it's Melee Macchiato. Was anybody surprised with this perk? The only defense I ever see for this perk is that it makes the swords better on Citadel. But if that's your defense, if you generally think it's good because it makes shitty wonder weapons better, I don't know what to tell you. It's really not all that, and besides, that's the augments helping the swords. So the perk itself actually just makes it so that you punch zombies instead of using your gun, which is okay. That's such an obscure idea, but alright, so that's the idea of the perk, and that's all it does. That's it. So the augments here do matter, but not all that much, and even then, that's not even what the perk actually does. That's just bonuses slightly better. That's it, maybe, but even then, it's so situational. Why would you ever choose to run this perk when there are so many better alternatives instead of just running this perk? And even then, Ethereal Razor from Black Ops 4 applied to every melee weapon, made it so you always healed, and it could be used for strategies on Alpha Omega and other maps as well, since it made every melee weapon better and insta-killed with the modifier. Here, it doesn't insta-kill. It'll insta-kill for a few rounds, and that's all it does. That's it. That's all it's going to do. It really doesn't help you in the long run. It's really a pointless perk and absolutely deserves the last spot. I honestly don't understand why they added this perk in when you either could have brought anything else back or made something actually helpful. This is neither. Next up, we have a perk that's slightly better, but it's not really all that much more helpful. We have Death Perception. Now, I'll be honest, Death Perception in Cold War was actually somewhat useful. It got you a ton of extra salvage. But here's the thing. They decided to give all of Death Perception's abilities from Cold War and put it into Voltrade. So you effectively brought back both perks, Voltrade and Death Perception, but you took Death Perception's abilities and put it into Voltrade, leaving Death Perception as the same as it was in BO4, but arguably worse, because now some people aren't going to have the minimap on, I don't have it on, and it effectively does nothing. It does nothing. Sure, you can see zombies through walls, and it does have an augment to improve headshots. That's not too bad, and that's the only reason it's above Melee Macchiato, because Melee Macchiato only serves pretty much one purpose only for melee builds, and it's not even good at that. So it serves a better purpose than that, and if you have the mini-map on for whatever reason, sure, it's somewhat helpful. But that's pretty much it. That's all it's going to be useful for. It's just for that purpose alone. It's just being able to see zombies, and a slight improvement to headshots, which Deadshot already does anyway. That's all it does. That's really all it does. I don't see the point in having Death Perception as a perk when you could have just put it into something else. I don't understand why they brought this perk back, especially for the Tomb of all maps. Why would you need it on that map specifically? I have no idea. But it just makes it even worse that it doesn't have its abilities from Cold War, so it's just significantly worse in every single way. And really, it's only better than Melee Macchiato, but nothing else. Pretty much F tier perk, both F tier. Really not helpful whatsoever. Alright, this one might be a little controversial, but in the next spot, we have Elemental Pop. Now, this is going to be controversial because I know a lot of people do like this perk, and I do too to an extent, but there's just too many flaws with the strategies that I use that make it less helpful to me as a player, and a perk that honestly I almost never want. So, let's talk about the good, right? Elemental Pop does have an augment that makes it so that it'll only use one ammo mod, depending on which one you have equipped. This makes it a lot more beneficial, because it means it won't randomly use Brain Rot or Napalm Burst, making it significantly more helpful in that way. However, is it really that important though? Is it really that important that it spawns more ammo mods for me, that it does it more often? Not really. Honestly, I just don't see the point in using this perk when it just gives you all the ammo mods, or if you run the augment, it only gives you one of them. I really don't see the point in using this perk. I know the augments on this perk actually are somewhat helpful, but honestly, I just never really go out of my way to buy this perk. It's really one of those perks that you just kind of get as a last resort. It doesn't really help out with anything unless you just don't care about getting XP or anything. Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't think the ammo mods give you XP, but I could be wrong on that. However, I just don't think Elemental Pop is all that crazy as a perk. Wrapping up the DLC perks, we have Voltrade in the next spot. Really solid perk for what Bo6 is, really solid perk for modern zombies, but compared to its previous self, it's nowhere near as good, not even close. Now look, for modern zombies mechanics with salvage and rarities, all that stuff, and of course dropping extra loot, it's incredibly helpful, hence why it's up here. But that said, it's really annoying that the perk doesn't come with all the features it used to have. If you played Black Ops 2 Zombies and you played Buried, Voltrade essentially did what Death Perception did, but even more. So not just seeing through walls and stuff and seeing where things are located, but it also dropped green smoke, which made it so that you could be invisible to the zombies, buying you extra time. Really great quality of life feature, but that's locked behind augments now, and not only that, but if you choose not to use them, because there's only 2 of them, if you choose to use the other augment, it will never drop the green smoke, ever. It's not an optional feature, it's a feature you have to have an augment for, otherwise it doesn't exist. So you effectively nerfed the perk for no real reason, in my opinion. I really feel like, I know it's a minor thing, but it could have just been part of the perk. This is the part of the problem I have with augments, is that you take away features and then you bring them back as augments. It really bugs the hell out of me, because I feel like Voltrade, I think I would have put way higher if it came with the green smoke by default that recharged their field upgrade, or just made you invisible, either one. But instead you have to choose, and it just feels really pointless. It feels like you made the perk worse for no real reason. I don't get the point, but it's going to be down here just because of that alone. And of course, on top of the fact that at a certain point you don't need salvage. It does drop ammo and other things too, so that can be appreciated. And it can drop extra wonder weapon ammo as well, so it isn't a bad perk by any means, and it's one you're going to want to grab. But it's not going to be your top 4 perks. I think your first 4 perks are going to be different than getting Voltrade as one of them. I think you're going to be grabbing that as your 5th or 6th perk, not necessarily one you're going to want to have immediately, but not a bad perk, and one you're probably going to want to grab at some point. Not a bad perk. Sliding into the next spot, we have PhD Flopper. That doesn't work because it's flopped into the next one. Okay, I got that wrong. So PhD Flopper, right? PhD Flopper, everybody knows this perk, everybody loves the perk, and it is helpful. Of course, it makes you immune to all explosions, so the ray gun and explosive weapons, significantly more useful. You can use grenades, all that good stuff without taking explosive damage. Really good perk. On top of that, the augments actually make it quite helpful for navigating hordes. The perks I tend to use on it include running through a horde and it just bounces the zombies out of the way, and having an extra long slide. Really useful stuff. So it is a solid perk overall. Though, of course, at some point you're not really going to use some of these, and maybe you're not using explosives on one of your runs, so maybe you don't even need that ability. So it is a little situational, but I think overall it is a really solid perk you're going to want to have. It's nothing too crazy. You all know what the perk does. It's been here for some time. Solid perk, but it is a little situational, so it really will depend whether or not you're going to use this perk. But I think it justifies itself. I think it really does justify itself. The longer sliding certainly helps. Being immune to explosives and fall damage when you dolphin dive also really helps. So solid perk all around. I think it is a little overrated sometimes, but it does help, and a solid perk all around. Alright, now we're getting into the real controversial ones here. Coming up next, we have Quick Revive. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a really good perk for multiplayer. It has a ton of bonuses specifically catered for multiplayer, so when you're playing with multiple people, it's incredible. When you're playing by yourself though, and just as a solo benefit, not as part of a team, it doesn't do all that much, honestly. Yes, the faster regeneration is helpful, 50% less time to regenerate, and of course, the Dying Wish augment. Both fantastic things, even though the Dying Wish augment only lasts for 3 turns, so after that you have no augment. But with that said, I do find it a little hard to put it above anything else when, first of all, the Dying Wish augment is limited, and also the fact that stims exist, so you can just use a stim to regenerate immediately instead of, having a dedicated perk for that. But still, I can't ignore the augment, and I can't ignore the fact that permanently faster regeneration with quick revive is really helpful. So I'm just going to put it there. I'm just going to leave it here because it is a good perk. Although it's mostly multiplayer catered, it has uses in solo, and it's still a really helpful perk. I can't put it anywhere lower because, again, it is super helpful. So it's going to be up here, but it's not number 1 or even top 3. No way. It is absolutely not. Alright, moving into the top 4. We have Speed Cola. Yeah, we have Speed Cola number 4, which means that you guys should know what the top 3 are, and it did surprise me when making this list. But let's talk about Speed Cola, right? So Speed Cola is as useful as always. It can reload even faster thanks to augments. They put in some time slip abilities in there as well, which I can appreciate, so the mystery box comes back faster. Great additions. So overall, really solid perk. Not a whole lot to talk about here. We all know what it does. And of course, the faster reloading, all great abilities, so it just does nothing wrong. Really, Speed Cola is that one perk that you can never be upset about. It's just all benefits. And of course, it has other augments as well, like being able to throw equipment faster, like the Monkey Bomb. Really great benefits all around. There's really no negatives here, and there's not a whole lot to talk about. So really, I should just be explaining why it's not above certain perks. And really, it's just that it's kind of a net ability, faster reloading. It's really helpful and all, but there are some other ones that I think are better overall in the game scheme. When you're trying to play for higher rounds, I think there are perks that are slightly better, but there's only 3 perks above it anyway. So it still does really well here, and solid perk. Alright, coming in at number 3. This one I'm sure you guys are going to be surprised by. We have Double Tap. Yeah, Double Tap in the top 3. I'm surprised myself. I hated the announcement of this perk, okay? The fact that it's basically Double Tap 1.0 made me livid. I'm still pretty upset about that they nerfed it into the ground just to put it back into the augments, and it's not even the same perk. Half of its augments are luck-based, or half-chanced. So really, why is it up here? Because the faster fire rate helps. A lot of the guns in Black Ops 6 do have slower fire rates for whatever reason. Some have fast fire rates, so when you combine it with this perk, you can shoot extremely fast. And of course, ammo crates are in this game, so unlike Black Ops 1, you can buy ammo from anywhere, and ammo is really not as much of an issue here. So that's why Double Tap 1 is significantly better here, because of the ammo crates really. And it just helps overall. There have been tons of strategies people have been using with the new Maelstrom shotgun, and combined with Double Tap and a couple augments, it shoots insanely fast and does a ton of damage. And when you pair it up with Depth Perception and Deadshot, it almost gets certainly critical kills. So it is pretty much a must-have perk at this point when you combine it with others to make it something that you can always get guaranteed critical kills with. It is really strong. Now, it's not that it doesn't have flaws, of course. I still think its augments are completely, almost entirely worthless, aside from being able to shoot even faster and maybe double or nothing, something along those lines. The augments here just aren't all that helpful, but its base ability and one of the abilities to increase the fire rate even faster does help, considering the ammo crates are now a thing. So with the Cold War and Black Ops 6 systems, it helps a lot more. Hence it being in the top spots, because it is really helpful. And speedy in just above Double Tap, we have Stamina. Man, I love Stamina. There's nobody here that can deny Stamina being one of the most helpful perks. And of course with Tactical Sprinting, it's just so helpful to have. It's a personal fan favorite of mine, and I know many of others, so I'm putting it up here just because I love this perk. Being able to run faster dramatically improves the game, especially considering how fast zombies run. You're almost always going to need stamina. I actually can't think of a time where you won't need it. It is just that freaking good. And stamina with augments as well pretty much just restores it back to a slightly weaker version of the Black Ops 4 version. So once again, the augments really don't do jack or shit here. But disregarding that, it's still a extremely helpful perk and a must buy. It is a must buy, must have. It is extremely powerful and arguably the best movement based perk we've ever gotten. It is way better than PhD. It is way better than anything else in terms of actual movement. It is just that good. Stamina, must purchase. One of the best perks in the game. Easy buy, great perk. Alright, coming in at number 2, we have Deadshot Daiquiri. Pretty much Deadshot Daiquiri 2.0. There's no denying that Deadshot has become incredibly powerful over the last years of zombies, especially given its buff in Cold War, and now in this game with the augments improving critical damage. it's just really freaking good. I think everybody can agree that I got a major buff, but a buff this powerful to where it's one of the best perks in the game, period, a must purchase, it's pretty crazy. It is really crazy. And of course, there's no denying that you need it for camos, because camo challenges, you need critical kills. This is a must-have, must-buy perk, and of course, it's right up there with Stamina Up, and our number one perk, of course, as a perk that you need to have. If you want to play a high round game, you need this perk. It just helps out incredibly well, especially with double tap and death perception, improving critical damage. You need these perks, okay? These three are the holy trinity of headshots, with Deadshot being the king. Deadshot, headshot, we're gonna be saying that a couple times. Deadshot is just way too good not to be up here. It got the glow up of the century, and it deserves it. It absolutely deserves it for being so freaking helpful and getting such a great glow up as well. So there's no denying, there's no beating around the bush. Number 2 perk, it's Deadshot. What else is there to say? It's incredibly powerful. And coming in at number 1, we have Tombstone.
Rest in pieces, down for the count.
Alright, I'm done trolling. We're not getting Tombstone in this game, hopefully. But number 1 is Juggernog. It's Juggernog. There's no surprise here. Really, there's not much to talk about here, because the augments slightly change how it works. You can get more health. Armor is more durable, which is a must-have in my opinion. And for whatever reason, some people have confused this with Widow's Wine, because one of the augments does make the zombies slow when they destroy your armor. I heavily disagree with this, okay? I've used it. It doesn't do that well a job compared to Widow's Wine in my opinion, but you know, that's just me. Some people have seen it as an alternative to Widow's Wine. I disagree. But even then, it's Juggernog. It gives you more health. What is there to say? It's number 1 just by default. So there's really not a whole lot to talk about here. The augments are health based. It just helps it out. You can restore armor back to the normal way, to where you're getting hit from behind, you can't take damage from behind. You can do that with one of the augments, but personally, I just don't like how that works. I just wish that armor turned into the shield again, but you know, we're probably never going to get that to happen. So with that as an alternative, it's okay. So it's fine, it's whatever. It's Juggernog. What do you expect? It's number 1. So there's really not much else to talk about here. Juggernog is the best perk in the game, hands down. Alright, and that's going to be it for my list. If you disagreed or if you agreed, leave a comment down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. I could always use a new addition to the Dark Ops army. And consider my other videos as well. I haven't done a whole lot of rankings on Black Ops 6, so if you want to do another one, let me know in the comments below. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is Dark Ops. I'll see you guys in the next one.